Hello, and welcome to a brand new series that I decided to come up with. It is called The Undeserved Downfall. This is a series where I will take a look at games, movies, TV shows, or any sort of piece of media that was cut too short and it still had a lot of potential. These pieces of media weren't particularly bad or really criticized. They were actually quite praised and had their own little fan base. But because of maybe low sales or shifting in the market, they were cut short with their lifespan and now will join the void of irrelevancy, even though they do not deserve it. And none other game that I have thought of has embodied this topic as much as Titanfall 2. This is a game developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by EA. We all love EA.
That is one big pile of shit.
This is still brand new and on its infancy, so I want to experiment with different types of media and see what sticks and what it doesn't stick. So I will broaden my reach in this series, but I will condense it more and more and more once I get a consistent view of the series. So, without further ado, let's begin our journey in the undeserved downfall of Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 was released in October 2016. It was the sequel to the surprisingly popular brand new series at that time called Titanfall. It was created by Respawn Entertainment, which consisted of ex-employees of Infinity Ward. So these are the people that worked in OG Call of Duty, like prime Call of Duty. We're talking about the original Modern Warfare trilogy. So, the fact that they split off from that company and made their own, created their own new take, piqued interest, to say the least. And that interest was soon met with quite the appraisal, but not without its criticisms. Titanfall, as fun as it was, it had many flaws. For example, the campaign wasn't really a campaign at all. It was more of a glorified scripted multiplayer match. What I mean by that is that the missions, quote unquote, which are the matches played by two enemy teams, were already scripted for one faction to already win. Which means no matter how good you're doing in the opposing team, you will always lose in that mission, no matter what. Why? Because the developers still try to tell a linear story, but with a brand new concept of putting multiplayer in it. Which sounds cool, but that linearity made it lacking and just kind of meh. Because that scripted stuff made the matches have no tension, so there was no fun to be had, to be honest. You would just be shooting and waiting for the match to end, and no matter how good you were doing, it all depending it all depended on which team you were on. So, yeah. The multiplayer idea was cool, but it was executed poorly. Another thing that multiplayer made the campaign worse was the characters and the story. Because this was a multiplayer match, you would be focused more on the gameplay rather than the story. See, single player campaigns have to balance gameplay with story so they can both coincide with each other. But multiplayer is played with other people, so you're playing to win. You're not really paying attention in any other stuff other than, winning. You're trying to find the best spot to maybe camp or the best wall running strategies to catch your enemy by surprise. But like I said, because it was scripted, those strategies just meant nothing. So all that was left was the story, and since this was a multiplayer match, you couldn't really pay attention to the story, so you really had no idea what was happening in the first game, and you didn't really care for any of the characters. In fact, when I first played Titanfall 2 and I saw characters from Titanfall 1 return to Titanfall 2, I had to take a double look, oh yeah, that guy was in the first game. Huh. Anyways. So yeah, the campaign was an overall mess. Now the multiplayer was fun. Respawn Entertainment created the advanced movement in first-person shooters. I honestly have not seen anything before Titanfall that had that sort of gameplay. And the gameplay was so addicting and so good that Call of Duty would copy it in their next installment. So, while the gameplay was fun, it did get repetitive, especially because the main focus of the game, other than the advanced movement, was Titans. You would get Titans by playing the game well, getting a bunch of kills and dying less, or just waiting for a certain amount of time, and that you would get a prompt to call your Titan. Now, this gameplay will give you a sort of power play. Now you have this huge mech with a giant gun in your hands, and you would go around basically like a transformer. That's what it felt like to me. But the problem with that is that there were only 3 types of transformers, of Titans. So you would basically see the same 3 over and over and over, making the gameplay repetitive. The first Titanfall did a lot right. There was still a lot of faults. And those faults would be improved upon in the next game called Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 takes place 5 years after the Titanfall 1 campaign, if you want to call it that. It follows the story of a rifleman turned pilot called Jack Cooper. Now, what is a pilot, you may ask? Pilot is basically this advanced soldier that can do all this cool stuff like double jumping, wall running, wall climbing, parkour, karate chop your enemy, take all the weapons, and get all the kills. They are basically the main focus. They are the Spartans of the Titanfall universe. That's the best way I can put it. Now, Jack Cooper is being trained by Captain Lastimosa to become a brand new pilot in the Militia Corps, which is the opposing faction of the IMC. Unfortunately, their training session is being cut short by an alert of landing on the planet Titan. One Titan sequence later, you are basically dropped into a hell zone full of robots and a bunch of bombastic scripted scenes, which is basically just the first mission Call of Duty. It's very, very traditional in terms of first-person campaigns. But trust me, it gets a lot better. Cooper's unit is then ambushed by a bunch of Titans called the Apex Predators, which are just a bunch of mercenaries that work for the highest bidder, and that's about it. That's all they do. They kill for the paycheck. Fortunately for Cooper, before he gets grabbed and squished into a bloody mess by a Titan, Captain Lastimosa drops in with his own Titan called BT-7274 and rescues the poor man. However, he gets surrounded by all these Titans and gets a little intimate with them. After that, you wake up the next morning to see Captain Lastimosa in the verge of death, and he basically gives you the mantle of becoming a pilot and having your own Titan, even though your training wasn't complete. It is now up to you, playing as Jack Cooper and BT, to work together and complete the mission that you were sent to in Titanfall and beat the IMC. The campaign is more structured like a regular first-person campaign. You have your missions, it is single player, and it has a bunch of cool set pieces, and most importantly, it has heart. The developers of this game took a lot of work and dedication to make this campaign as good as it was. It is cliched, very cliched, I'll tell you that much. It plays a lot into young man being forced into this brand new world, even though he has not training for it. And now he has to fight in this rules of engagement that he just barely knows of because of his training. But he rises up to the responsibility, and him and BT embark on the adventure, which involves having fun with the local wildlife, yeeting each other across buildings and ships, and of course, blowing a bunch of stuff up. Now, the campaign is cliched, but the developers made it so much fun. The gameplay is so much fun. It is, I'm sorry for being repetitive, but it is a huge improvement on the quote-unquote campaign from the first game. For example, instead of just playing on multiplayer maps, you now have dedicated single-player levels that take advantage of the wall running and brand new gimmicks that they bring into every mission. For example, the mission where you accidentally enter Ash's lair by taking a shortcut puts you through a gauntlet of wall running and wall climbing, shooting different hordes of enemies, and ends with a fight to the death with the robot Ash, which is actually pretty cool. I actually really did like this mission. I'm pretty sure I would like to say it's my favorite, but there's also so many other cool missions, like the one where you're in this destroyed facility that has a bunch of ripples in time. So you get this gauntlet thing in your hand that allows you to traverse between past and present seamlessly, which also affects what happens in the different times. Like you open a door in the past and the door in the present opens. It is weird, but it's also super cool. Like, they put a lot of love and creativity into this campaign. You can tell by the level design that they were just having a blast trying to see what they wanted us to, what playground, what toys they wanted us to play with in the next mission. It is actually very exciting. Now, while the gameplay is a lot of fun, the heart and core of this campaign is not the story, but the interaction between Jack Cooper and BT. They get to talk a lot in this game, and I'm so glad they did, because it creates this bond between man and machine. And since Cooper is the player's window to that world, to an extent, the player creates a bond with BT. You get these optional speech bubbles that you can select, and it will create an interaction between Jack and BT, which can range from talking about the mission, to basically just having a funny joke, which is a lot of those, because Jack Cooper just tries to be this jokester guy sometimes with BT, but since he is just a robot and only thinks logistics and technicalities and literalism, he doesn't get the joke, so he just speaks in the most blunt way possible, and it's honestly one of the best parts in the game.
To all militia personnel, the IMC will grant safe passage back to the Angel City Penitentiary. All will surrender. Be wise to turn yourselves in for any IMC search teams immediately.
Pilot, I advise against turning yourself over to the IMC. Voice pattern analysis indicates they are lying.
You don't think I'm that stupid, BT?
Undetermined. I will not know the full extent of your brain function until we establish a neural link.
I always love to see what they talk about, even though I played this game a lot. I always go back to it and select a different speech bubble to see what interaction I missed, because that's another thing. You can only pick one speech bubble sometimes. So you would sometimes miss out on another interaction between Jack Cooper and BT. So it gives you this incentive to replay the campaign to see what more interactions you can see between the two. And it's super cool. That is the heart and soul of this game. Because the plot is very, it is very, 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 very cliched and very one note. But what elevates it is the bond between Jack Cooper and BT. Which, spoiler alert, I don't know why I'm saying spoiler, this game came out almost 8 years now. When BT sacrifices himself is very shocking, is very gut-wrenching, and it leaves you very sad, because you don't want the man to die. You want to be with the robot dude forever. Now that we got basically a summarization of the campaign done, we can see and pretty much understand that the campaign is not the reason why this game failed. Alright? It is a lot of fun, it is very entertaining, and it has a lot of heart by the developers. And that's really, really good. When the developers have heart and passion for a game, it will ooze into the gameplay, story, music, and everything. Which I will say, the music of this game is pretty good, but I can't really remember much. I can only remember the main menu theme. Yeah, the others do their job well of, pumping you up, but that's about it. There's not really that much memorability in terms of the music, other than the main title. Now let's get to the multiplayer, and wow, did they improve upon the first game. First and foremost, we got classes. Not only for the pilot, we also have different Titan classes. The Titan classes are so much better, eons better than the 3 different Titans that we got, where those 3 had barely any sort of quirks that differentiate them from each other. Each and every single Titan from this game alone have so much personality in gameplay alone. My favorite one is the Tone and the Ion Titans. The Tone Titan is basically this DMR-ish kind of Titan, where you have this heavy rail cannon that whenever you hit the Titan, you will get a tick of a lock-on, and once you get all 3 ticks that make a circle, you can shoot a barrage of missiles, and you also get this huge wall shield that protects you and gives you the edge especially when you're far away and picking off enemies from afar. And you also get this this motion sensor and the V core, which is the super abilities of Titans. You get this huge barrage of missiles for like a good 10 seconds, I would like to say. An Ion is basically that, but with a laser gun. The laser can get split into 5 ways, and it'll do a lot more damage. You press the left trigger or right click, or whatever you play this game on. So you will have a lot more spread, but you will do a lot more damage. So it is more useful to use that in close quarters, basically. And it melts Titans. It is super fun. Especially with a charge up shoulder laser cannon. You can hold that laser until max power and it just eats up health. It eats up enemies' health. It's super cool. And the V-Core, of course, is just a giant laser that you shoot out your mouth and kablamo, everybody's done. The maps are also a great improvement. They really wanted to focus more on the parkour and advanced movement system for this game, and it shows. The skill curve to master the movement in this game and shoot at the same time it's a lot. It's simple to understand and get a hang of, but hard to master, and I love that. I love when games have that sort of mechanic, because you can see people, not me obviously, I kind of suck at this game. You can see people just running around like crazy maniacs. Like, basically, what's his name from Apex Legends? It's the Latino guy with the robot legs. It's basically him, but just 10 times more on adrenaline. It's insane. But if you don't want to do like the whole wall running and stuff like that, you can also hang back and pick off enemies one by one with like a sniper or a DMR or a light machine gun. The game allows different types of gameplay, and it caters to them. If you want to play sniper, you pick the tactical class, I think they're called, which is the one with the shield, and you pick a sniper, or you pick the one that can camouflage and sneak by enemies and pick them off and then take a vantage point. Or you can go like a crazy madman, pick submachine gun, the adrenaline robot pilot, and just go crazy. Or you can be like me and play Spider-Man and just grapple hook your way around the entire map and get killed a lot. But it's still a lot of fun. So yeah, you can see by the way I am praising this game that it is basically a perfect sequel. It took everything that worked from the first game, it improved upon it, it took the criticisms and they made them good. They actually like made the campaign fun, multiplayer's fun, and it even has like this PvE horde mode, which is called Frontier Defense, which is a neat little game mode where you get this different waves of Titans that you have to take on with 3 other players, and you bring in your own Titan, and it's basically just a giant freaking Transformers battle. Is great. I love it. It is phenomenal. So yeah, I am gushing and glazing this game so much. So why did it fail? Why did it fail? One reason and one reason alone. EA. Not surprising there. Now, EA is known to make great decisions, such as taking down many of their iconic companies like Pandemic, or putting a bunch of microtransactions into their games to the point where the game just becomes a slot machine and a gambling addiction simulator rather than an actual fun game. So yeah, you can tell EA not great company. It got worst company of the year twice for a reason. So what did they do with Titanfall 2? Simple enough. They decided to release it right in the same timeline, like in the same 2 weeks timeline of Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Two of the most hyped and anticipated games of that year alone. Battlefield 1 was a great surprise and a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. And Infinite Warfare was just fun to hate on, but people still bought it because it's Call of Duty. So, yeah, putting Titanfall 2, which was still a game franchise that was in its infancy, it was still like a rising star, but nowhere near the caliber of Battlefield and Call of Duty. So the fact, I don't know why they decided to put Titanfall 2, the second game ever in that franchise, against those two juggernauts. And of course, because of that, it failed financially. Well, okay, it did not fail. It apparently sold well, over 4 million copies. You know, that's great, that's phenomenal. But compared to Battlefield 1's and Infinite Warfare sales, you can see why EA decided to clear from Titanfall 2 and focus more on their juggernauts. Okay, so I decided to cut the recording session for a bit to just understand why Titanfall was released in the way that they did. And all I got was this post, well, deleted post from Reddit in r/Titanfall. And all is basically a theory, but this deleted guy from 1 year ago says that no one really knows, to be honest. EA had nothing to do with the release date. Respawn chose the date. So it wasn't even EA, it was Respawn. Well, that's coming from a post on Reddit, so take that with a grain of salt. So if that is true, if we take that as fact, it means that Respawn is the reason why Titanfall 2 failed. I guess they decided to jump the gun and thought that, you know, their game was good enough to compete with those two, which honestly was a huge mistake. Like I said, Battlefield 1, Call of Duty, huge names in the gaming industry. So this brand new kid in the block stood no chance. The game did not sell as well as it could have, and because of that, Respawn steered away from Titanfall as a whole. And instead, because of the rising popularity of Battle Royale thanks to Fortnite, they decided to release Apex Legends. And that was basically the final nail in the coffin for Titanfall. Because Apex Legends blew up in popularity. And despite it being free, it did have microtransactions. So people bought a lot. They bought the Battle Pass, they bought all the Apex loot boxes so they can make videos about it. And to get a chance to get at these heirlooms. So yeah, Respawn and EA saw the huge success of Apex Legends and put all their resources on it. All of it. And Titanfall was just thrown, forgotten, nowhere to be seen anywhere ever again. To the point where any announcement of anything in the Titanfall universe has nothing to do with a new Titanfall game. It always has to do with Apex or something Apex adjacent. Which sucks so much because Titanfall 2 was a genuinely great game. It won Best Shooter of 2016 by PC Gamer. It won awards. And you can see in their now very barren Twitter that they were very passionate about this game. They showed tips and tricks. They regularly made multiple Twitter posts per day. It was crazy. They really wanted this game to succeed, but because they decided on that release date, it just could not compete. And now, because Respawn and EA, let's face it, they're both greedy, super greedy. They have milked Apex to the point where that game is not even fun anymore. Oh, what? What do you mean there's a hacker problem? Don't worry about that. Just look at this cool new bundle of freaking Apex loot boxes with heirlooms, and look at this brand new battle pass that you're gonna have to pay more for, and you're gonna get less for. Don't worry about the hacker problem. Don't worry that the Pro League is broken because of a DDoS attack or a dox attack. Titanfall 2 is, honestly, it hurts. It hurts because it could have been something. It could have been a great franchise that could build upon itself, because Respawn back then really did take into account the criticisms from the first game and implemented them so much better into the second game, and now all that progress is gone, and its replacement is a greedy game. So yeah, that's the undeserved downfall of Titanfall 2. Was it pride, ego that made it fall? Maybe. Respawn was made by ex-employees of people that worked in Call of Duty, so I guess they thought that this game could compete with that and outsell it. Was it greediness? Maybe. I mean, EA is known to be super freaking greedy to the point where their games are just not fun. So it could be a combination of all of those. But as it stands now, Titanfall 2, while not as populated as it once was, still has its small following. You can still get games every now and then. It might take a bit to find a game now, but you can get some. And unfortunately, the only real populated game mode from Titanfall 2 is attrition, which is the basic game mode of that. It's a really fun game mode, don't get me wrong, but still, every once in a while you would like to play some other game modes, get a little quirky. But yeah, that it concludes the dive on why this game fell and why it was undeserved. This game did not deserve the death that it got. It had a lot of passion, it had a lot of heart, but one simple release date can sweep all of that away, along with a greedy game. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this new experimental video of mine. This is something that I had thought of for a bit. So I really want to make this a consistent thing. So I'm gonna keep making videos about this, about games or other pieces of media that did not deserve the downfall that they had. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, please let me know. Subscribe, like, share. Please do share. Get that algorithm in my favor for once. But yeah. If you have any suggestions of video games, movies, or any sort of piece of media that you think had an undeserved downfall into obscurity, please drop it in the comments. Let me know. I would love to talk about it. I myself have some other games that I would like to talk about that had an undeserved downfall. So, yeah. I hope you all have a blessed day and or night, and I will see you all later.